Yeah. And speaking of business plan, I think we started a little bit backwards. That's how it goes on the Meat Mafia podcast. We started regenerative farming, which is awesome. But I mean, we would personally love to just learn a little bit more about the Epic story and how you and Katie built that up, because we've listened to you tell it on a few other podcasts and it's really inspiring. So we'd love to dig into some of that if you'd be down.
Sure. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that story really starts from, like, I'd say the dark days, dark ages, like in the medieval times where, like, no one knew anything about the world and they thought the world was flat. That was Katie and I.
Yeah. Eating plants.
Yeah, exactly. we were misguided. And I think I'd like to say that our spirit and our soul is the same. So early on, Katie and I had just this, like, affinity for the outdoors. So like you guys, we just felt most alive being outdoors, training for endurance races, doing Ironmans, like spending all day long on a bicycle. So definitely connected with the natural elements of our ecosystem. And in that journey, this was when we were in college. And man, I just feel like kids don't know shit in college, but that's where you're supposed to learn stuff. And so we learned this the hard way, actually. But, the conventional narrative back then, and this was like, it wasn't like 100 years ago, it was 2004 through 2008, 10. Like we had a centralized model of education and information. Social media wasn't this thing where you could have unlimited access to alternative ideas. And so at that point in time, it was very conventional, propagated propaganda wisdom that, like, plant-based diets, especially for athletes, were superior, which was fucking crazy. I studied exercise sports science. We were always trying to optimize our bodies so we could race harder and recover better. And in that journey, we were told, like, you got to have a low-fat diet. You got to, like, fuel your body with carbohydrates and simple sugars. And so we were just going, like, this crazy way where even for proteins, we were looking into more technological solutions than a natural solution. So, like, pea protein isolates and other plant-based foods. And it's like these plant-based foods that we were eating they shouldn't have been called plant-based because they came from plants, but they came from plants, like manufacturing facilities with fucking smokestacks.
Right.
And I mean, they're just byproducts of garbage. And we didn't know. And we thought we were eating right for our bodies. We thought we were also eating responsibly for the land, because at that point in time, it was like animals are degrading our ecosystems. They're causing all this environmental decay. And we bought into that bullshit. And I remember on one trip when we were driving to New Mexico, I think we were we were on the way to California, and we drove by the biggest feedlot I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was miles long, and it was the worst example of animal-based agriculture. And that was just kind of like the nail in the coffin for us, because we thought, well, shit, I don't want to support that system, right? You guys don't want to support that system.
No,
so,
100%.
like, I'm opting out. And we didn't realize that when we were opting out, we were actually not taking the ability to use our consumer dollars to vote for a better system. We were allowing the pervasive incumbent system to prevail. So that was jacked. And what really caught up to us was in these years of competing at pretty high levels. Katie was a total badass. She won her first Ironman race, like fucking won it, won her category.
That's
like,
badass.
What?
It's one thing to do it. It's another thing to actually win your age group.
Yeah. I mean, it's like such a competitive sport. It's insane. And so she qualified for the World Championship race. And so we got to go out to the Kona, Hawaii race. And, this was over a couple years of building and really pushing our bodies hard. And there was this one season where, like, injury after injury after injury. And this was about 3 years of being plant-based. And so, we thought, let's clean up our diets. We're not eating well enough. So we transitioned from going from vegetarian to vegan, right? And so, like, we're moving on the spectrum, but we're moving the wrong way. We didn't know it. Well, surprise, surprise. Chronic inflammation got worse. Mysterious joint pain got worse. GI distress got worse. Oh, shit, we're not eating clean enough. Let's go raw food vegan.
Wow.
Fuck. Yeah,
You're all the way on the spectrum now.
Yeah, exactly. The pendulum is swinging in the wrong direction. And then, like, finally, I mean, it was so bad to where Katie just literally couldn't train anymore. And she was told she needed a knee replacement. She's like probably like 19 years old, 20 years old. Wow. She had exploratory surgery. She was told she needed to be on arthritis medicine for the rest of her life. All these terrible diagnoses. And we saw every medical practitioner we could think of, like conventional Western medicine, MD, to chiropractor, to like shaman to Reiki energy, like whatever. We like it's full spectrum. And finally, someone asked her at this towards the end, like, "What are you eating?" First question they asked. I was like, "Don't worry about that, doc. We got that shit covered.
We're killing it."
Yeah,
We've got the kale smoothies. We've got it all.
Like,
Yeah.
you're about to give us a high five because we're so badass. And the dude was just like, "Okay, like this is over. Like this has been nice knowing you guys. This is 10 seconds into your first meeting with me, and I know exactly what's going on. I want you to just stop this shit, get some blood work done, and I want you to start reintroducing animal protein, high-quality grass-fed, pasture-raised meat. I want you to start cooking your vegetables, or you don't even have to really eat those things, and then like eliminate grains and legumes." And so it sounded horrible. It sounded like a death sentence to us. Because, I think after a while, whenever you're plant-based for a long time, you kind of like, it's like a mental disorder. So like we kind of like lost our ability to connect with reality and to objectively step back and recognize we're on the wrong track.
Wow.
And so it took this guy being like, change your diet. It's that simple. And also, our backs up were against the wall. Like, Katie could not train. Everything had gone downhill, so we didn't have anything to lose. So we started reintroducing meat into our diets. And, I mean, this is no bullshit. It sounds too good to be true, but it was true. It was truly like within days, symptoms went away. And this was years of issues, like manifesting, getting worse and worse and worse. And it just, poof, vanished. And so, we were like, well, goddamn, we were wrong about that. But, like, I guess one of the things that we love doing, we've done in our life is pivoting. And we think it's a really valuable characteristic, a trait that develops and you can have tremendous growth in your life when you can change your perspective. So we just, no looking back, ditch the diet. And in retrospect, too, like, I can sit here today and tell you guys, if we would have stuck with that dysfunctional way of eating that's not consistent with our evolutionary biology or our species appropriate diet, if we would have stuck with the vegetarian vegan diet, Katie would be in a wheelchair or she would be dead today. Yeah, I mean, it was like that bad.
It was that bad.
It was that damn bad.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no playing around. And so, I mean, it's just, here we are. Now we're crushing these endurance events, and instead of like all this bullshit fake protein, we're packing like ribeyes in our pockets and eating bacon on 100-mile bike rides and like loving life again. And so that was like the conception of Epic. It's like, how do we make this bacon a little bit more convenient to put in the back of our jersey when we do a 100-mile bike ride?